couple. Okay. Couple of things.
Yes,
Had more
we have
just questions.
we have other business, so as an agenda item, so we can discuss it, because
Okay.
that's why we have other business as an agenda item. So, yep, you can bring them up, Jill.
Okay, thanks.
Yep. Hey, Libby.
Hi.
Got the royal wave.
Yeah. Good. She's good at it.
She is. How did it go this morning? I didn't watch.
I think it went pretty well.
Was it taped? Is it going to be on YouTube?
I think they taped it. Yes, I'm pretty sure they did. There were more people than normal, about 60 at the height of it. And there were about 14 or 15 questions, most of them related to why don't we have a building moratorium, to I tend to jot them down. I knew somebody was going to ask about the modular trailer at the fire station. Sure enough.
Favorite subject.
Yes, very painful. The building moratorium, something about when are we going to have a bike path into town from the Rotary, building moratorium again. Lots of questions for Andrew. There's too many new large homes. Why is the poll at the Rotary going to take so long? Something about a disparate burden on development in Mid-Island, and some housing questions. Can the town build rental properties as affordable housing and meet 40B requirements? The lights at the intermediate school are too bright. Can we dim them? Can there be an architectural review board created for help the HDC? Bermuda restricts cars. Why can't we? And that was mostly it.
You have to wear shorts then.
With these socks, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you can't rent a car there unless you're a UK, you have a UK driver's license. So that helps them a lot.
That's true.
Yeah, it's very restrictive.
That sounds like a citizens warrant article in waiting. So,
Yeah.
Okay, I see we're a quorum, so I'm going to call us to order while everybody else jumps on and go through the script, because we love that. So I'm calling to order the July 13th meeting of the Finance Committee of the Town of Nantucket. We are now using Zoom webinar for meetings, which allows for public to participate in the meeting as an attendee. Attendees must register to participate. The registration link is unique to the meeting. The registration link can be found in the description of the Nantucket Government TV YouTube live feed for the meeting. People registering to be an attendee must use their first and last names, otherwise they will not be allowed to participate in the discussion. Attendees will join in listening mode. They can click raise hand button if they wish to speak. The chair will call on those who have raised their hands in the order in which they were raised. The YouTube chat is no longer enabled, and all questions should be directed through the chair. As a preliminary matter, this is Denise Cronow, Chair of the Nantucket Finance Committee. Permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative, and I will start with Peter Schaefer.
Aye.
Jill Veith.
Here.
George Harrington.
Aye.
Chris Galacki.
Here.
Joanna Roche.
Aye.
Thank you.
Here.
Staff, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative, and I will start with who I see first, Rick Sears. Rick? Okay, we got the royal wave from Rick. Brian Turbot.
Here.
Maria.
I'm here.
Thank you. Libby. Another wave. And Terry. Okay. Good afternoon. This open meeting of the Finance Committee is being conducted remotely consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12th, 2020. Due to the state of emergency, well, it's not a state of emergency anymore. He's extended it. Anyway, I'm going to skip a lot of this. Please note that the meeting is being recorded and that all attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that other folks may be able to see you, and to take care not to screen share your computer Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. Let's see. We're now turning to the first agenda item, but before we do so, permit me to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. I will introduce each speaker on the agenda, and then the members can add their comments. I will invite you to add your comments. Please remember to mute your phone or computer when you're not speaking, and please remember to speak clearly in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. And finally, each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by roll call vote. So I've had the call to order, agenda item 1, audio video announcement, agenda item 2. May I have an approval of the agenda?
So made.
And may I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. And by roll call, Peter Schaefer,
Aye.
Jill Veith,
Aye.
George Harrington,
Aye.
Chris Kowacki,
Aye.
Joanna Roche,
Aye.
Denise, I. Thank you. Are there any changes or additions or corrections to the meeting minutes from June 2nd and June 5th? If not, may I have a motion to approve?
Motion
So
to
moved.
approve.
And a second?
Second.
Thank you. Peter Schaefer,
Aye.
Jill,
Aye.
George,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
Joanna.
Aye.
Thank you. And Denise, I. Those are adopted unanimously. Okay, now I'm turning it over to Brian for the 33B transfers and the reserve fund transfers. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Rick is going to share a screen. We'll start with the reserve fund in the order that it was in the packet. So before you, we have a reserve fund request for $100,000 to be transferred to two line items within the town clerk's operating budget. $12,500 to go into the town clerk salary line item. This will cover additional expenses and staff time for related to moving the meeting to June 5th with the annual town election subsequent to that, and having the meeting outside. There was some additional overtime and additional costs that we need to cover. As in past years, anything that ultimately is not needed at the end of the year through the final payroll will just fall back to free cash. We were asking for $88,500 to be transferred into the professional services line item. That is where we have charged all of the expenses to date relative to the costs incurred for holding the annual town meeting outside, including the tents and the sound systems and all of the chairs. So we don't expect any more cost other than the roughly $88,000, but and there is a deficit currently of $62,000 in that account. Again, consistent with the way we've done this, if there's anything that is not needed, this will also fall to free cash when we close the books. But this is where we project those costs to end up for the final when we tally everything for the annual town meeting in the town clerk's budget. So we're asking for a favorable vote to transfer that money from the reserve fund.
Any questions from Finance Committee? No questions. May I have a motion?
Yeah, I move that we approve the transfer.
Thank
Aye.
you.
Second.
Thank you. By roll call, George,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
Jill,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
Joanna.
Aye.
I think I don't see a full screen, but I'm assuming that's all.
So on the screen now, thank you for that vote, by the way, Madam Chair. We will have to make arrangements to get you to sign that as well. We'll send it through Right Signature, which is an online document signing portal that we use.
Okay.
So that sign that. On the screen now, you have the Chapter 44B. Chapter 44, Section 33B allows us to make budgetary transfers beginning in May through July 15th. These transfers need to be approved by the Select Board and the Finance Committee. Consistent with the way we have done it, we go to the Finance Committee first. We will be seeking Select Board approval tomorrow night at their meeting. We're asking to transfer from the general insurance line $496,712.11, which will be transferred into town administration salaries in the amount of $180,000. This is not, we did not hire any additional people. There were some people that were inadvertently coded into town admin. There are some areas, other areas in the budget which do have surpluses in the salary line. One of them is in human resources. The DEI director was inadvertently put into human resources. The energy coordinator was inadvertently charged into town administration salaries instead of plus where the money was. However, plus has had a substantial increase in overtime with the increase in building that's gone on in the island. So any surplus that they may have had as a result of this is being being absorbed with the overtime that they've had to incur this fiscal year. The Finance Committee, we're requesting to transfer in $6,712, which is a result of the increased cost of the warrant. As you remember, the warrant printing is in the Finance Committee budget, and that has seen an increase in cost this year. IT, we're asking for a transfer in of $45,000, which is a result of some additional cybersecurity efforts and licensing that we needed to incur, as well as legal, $250,000. The majority of this cost is really in three areas. We're still in ongoing contract negotiations with a number of unions. We've also have significant legal expenses in two main areas, being the SBPF and with Surfside Crossing, which is all three of those have required us to incur additional legal expenses above and beyond what we had originally anticipated. Human and Social Services has a $15,000 request, which is tied to a website. I forget what the name of it is off the top of my head, Madam Chair, but it's a website that they're utilizing that we had agreed to fund in last year's budget. And so it was not, it came in a little bit more than we had anticipated. So we're asking to transfer money there. Then Police Department salaries of $100,000 transferred to Harbor Master salaries of $100,000. The main reason that we're asking for this transfer is that during the year last year with COVID, there was a significant amount of overtime incurred by the Harbor Master and the Assistant Harbor Masters above and beyond what we had anticipated, given the amount of work that they all had to do with staffing and getting ready for the season. So all told, we're asking for transfers from budgets in the amount of $596,712.11 into the line items that we've just mentioned in the same amount of $596,712.11. Do you have any questions?
Thank you, Brian. Any questions for Brian? Jill?
Yeah, I just wanted to understand the salaries again, the 180. You said it wasn't for new people, but it's for overtime pay?
No, so in town administration, there were people that were incorrectly coded into that budget that should have been in other budgets. So one of those is the DEI director has been put through town administration. The actual funding was in human resources. So we need to transfer money in to cover that, as well as the energy coordinator should be in plus and was incorrectly put into town administration. So we're just moving money in to cover those. And as I mentioned with plus, normally we may have been able to take it from there, but they've had to absorb so much overtime that we need to have some offset there. So
I got you.
any of
Okay.
these two items have been corrected and adjusted moving into the fiscal 22 year. So this is not something that we expect will happen next year.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Fair enough.
Thank you, Jill. Chris?
Yeah, Brian, on the plus overtime, is there an offsetting revenue component that comes part and parcel of all that overtime? Is it, a permit revenue or some?
I mean, we certainly have seen an uptick in permit revenue, Chris, but I don't know that I have seen I don't know if it's one for one, to be honest with you. I imagine it may be pretty close to it, but it's not. I don't know that. I can't give you a definitive answer right now.
And how would that work if there were where does a surplus in budgeted revenue show up?
It would show up on the bottom line in free cash.
Okay, thanks. May I ask a few more questions?
Sure.
Go ahead.
What's the total legal budget?
400,000.
So 400 was the budget and we're going to be 250 north of that. It's like a 60% increase.
Yes.
roughly. And
roughly.
when you do the legal budget, you know, and I can't remember this from our marathon Saturday sessions. What do you, how do you come up with a legal budget with so much uncertainty about what the actual need will be?
We, in reality, when talking with the town manager and town administration, we've level funded it at approximately 400,000. And there's really, it's very difficult to predict with any certainty what's going to happen or how much time and effort may be required for some of the things that go on in the town that need legal representation for. There was one year when we did add a little bit extra for collective bargaining, but we did not do that this year. So, and that's taken on a little bit, a life of its own, so to speak, during the last 12 months.
Got it. And then on the police budget, is that the total amount, the 100,000, is that the total amount we're under budget in police moving over, or could we be under budget by whatever? But for this conversation, you just talk about the portion that you need.
We're under,
that number would have been a lot higher.
we're, on a budget to actual basis, we are at about 130,000 to the good roughly on the police side. We're moving the 100,000 in to cover the additional expenses in the harbor master line item, and the rest would just fall to free cash at the end of the year.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Chris. Any other questions? In which case, Jill?
Sorry, just one more thing. I thought, I'm sorry, I don't remember, Brian, but I thought last year we spent like 750 on legal.
I don't remember the number off the top of my head, to be honest with you, but I can look it up real quick. Or attempt to look it up real quick. Last year we spent $430,000 on legal.
Okay, I thought it was a lot more than that. So there are not any other like line items somewhere for legal that are outside of that?
No, legal is only in one line, in a series of 3 or 4 line items in the budget wrapped up into one. So,
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you, Jill. Any other questions? Okay, in which case, may I have a motion to approve the transfer?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second,
Thank you. By roll call, Joanna,
Aye.
Peter,
aye,
George,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
Stephen,
Aye.
Jill,
Aye.
and myself, aye. Passes unanimously. Thank you, Brian. Next.
one more that we have, Madam Chair, is just we're asking to transfer from Comet's operating expenses 48,900 into their salary line item. This transfer is requested as a result of a retirement that they've had and has required some a payout of the accrued leave time, vacation and sick leave that the individual had accumulated, and that did cause them to, and some changes in increase in the health insurance, the number of people on the plan. So it has caused them to need a little bit of a transfer this year. And this is taken solely from the unallocated expense line that they have within the budget, which is in the operating side. So we're asking for a favorable vote to transfer 48,900 from their operating expenses into their salary to cover those.
At the time they did their budget, they did not know that individual was going to be retiring.
They did not. It came after the fact.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from Finance Committee? No? In which case, may I have a motion to approve the transfer?
so moved,
And a second?
Second.
Second.
Thank you. By roll call, Stephen?
Aye.
Peter?
aye,
George?
Aye.
Joanna?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Jill?
Aye.
Thank you. And Denise, aye. I keep forgetting. It was in sight, Brian. Was that the
Thank you.
final, was that the final transfer?
That is all, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you very much, Brian. Okay, now we have to elect officers and committee appointments. So, you know, let's do committee appointments first, keep it simple. I've had chats with all of you and we were discussing, so Jill, I would like someone to nominate Jill to be our representative on the Capital Program Committee, please.
I'm happy to nominate Jill for that.
And I'll second.
Thank you. And by roll call, Stephen?
Aye.
Oh, first, I guess I should say, Jill, are you willing to serve?
Yes, I'm excited.
Okay. By roll call, Stephen,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
George,
Aye.
Joanna,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
Jill. Denise.
Chris, you sound as positive about that as I was. hoping.
That's unanimous. Thank you very much, Jill. The Contract Review Committee. So now that Jill is on the Capital Program Committee, it's not appropriate to have her also on the Contract Review Committee. I did not call around to see which one of you would like to volunteer to do that. So is anyone that's, and Chris, you are excluded because of the hospital, as they are
I will.
usually one of the biggest people who want to ask for funds from the town. So I think it's difficult for you to be on that committee. So thank you
I
for
agree.
offering. I can tell you were going to raise your hand, Chris, and I've just stopped you. So Joanna, are you raising your hand to,
Yes.
would somebody please nominate Joanna to be our representative to the Contract Review Committee?
I'll make that nomination.
Thank you. May I have a
I'll
second?
second.
Second.
Okay, by roll call, Stephen,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
George,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
Jill,
Aye.
Joanna,
Aye.
Denise, I thank you, Joanna, for your service.
You're
Great,
welcome.
thank you. Okay, now officers, election of officers. So, Stephen, you were going to say?
Yeah, are there, we used to have, Joe was our representative on the, on a housing work group. Has that concluded its work?
I checked with Libby prior to this meeting to find out who we had to formally appoint. And it was Contract Review Committee and Capital Program Committee. So as
Okay.
other committees come up, we can absolutely have people volunteer to be on them, Stephen, but we don't have to
Okay.
have a formal vote for them, is my understanding. Is that correct, Libby? Libby's
Yeah, I'm
not,
not sure what housing committee. Affordable Housing Trust, you mean?
Neighborhood first.
Neighborhood First. He was on the
Oh,
Neighborhood First when it was still in existence.
is it still in existence?
I don't know.
It hasn't had a meeting in ages.
Yeah, that's not a statutory group, so that's sort of at your all's will.
I haven't asked Joe if he'd continue, but I would assume he would, Stephen, as and when. And I would assume that we could also always take a vote formally if we needed to, based on what John Giorgio tells us at a future meeting if we need to do that. So.
Okay.
Unless you were looking to be on that, Stephen.
Well, if it's active, then I'd like it to be a discussion, yeah. But if
Okay.
it's not active, then
Okay.
that's
Yeah,
fine.
I think the last time Joe reported out was months ago and there hadn't been any activity since then. So
Mhm.
I believe.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Okay, election of officers.
Denise, I'd like to nominate you for chair.
I second.
Thank you. I accept the nomination by roll call. Stephen,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
George,
Aye.
Joanna,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
Jill,
Aye.
Denise, I. It always sounds funny when you vote for yourself, but thank you. And now may I have a nomination for vice chair?
I nominate Stephen.
I second.
Thank you. Stephen, are you willing to be vice chair?
I am. Thank you.
Okay, so let's start with Peter,
Aye.
George,
Aye.
Joanna,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
Jill,
Aye.
Denise, aye. Stephen, you get the last vote.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay. Committee reports, I would assume that there's none. Okay, that's easy. A date of our next meeting is the 27th of July at 4 o'clock. That's more of an informational meeting because we're going to be hearing from the Affordable Housing Trust Chair and from Tucker to tell us where they are on all the affordable housing projects, with the statuses of them. And I thought it was important for the Finance Committee to get an update, especially considering the successful passage of all the initiatives or all the articles at town meeting. So we'll be able to ask questions of this group at that time. So that's what's happening at our next meeting in 2 weeks. And with that, I'm opening it up for other business. And Jill, I think you had a couple of items.
I just had 2 questions, maybe something we could talk about, hoping to just look for some answers really, but a couple things looking back at what happened this year, because it was pretty dominated by, several things, but one of them was the short-term rental article, of course. And, a lot of people have raised the point that that really should have been a zoning article. And so it was making me think, I don't know if we as a board or planning board or the clerk or select board, I mean, if we feel like you can just go and get signatures and say, hey, this is an article, but can you really do that? If it's not the appropriate path, do we as a body, are we able to say, no, that really needs to go to the planning board as a zoning article?
So,
Yeah,
okay.
I'm not trying to invalidate anything. I'm just trying to understand the process of that.
Okay, so Peter, Libby will go first, and then Peter, I'll call on you.
Articles that have the signatures of 10 or more registered voters must go on the warrant regardless of what they say.
And with that, Jill, so to build on what Libby just said, and John, they get reviewed by town council. And so often town council comes back and says it's inappropriate as to form, or it's not valid as to form. However, we as a finance committee can't say you did this incorrectly. We can only opine on what is actually presented to us. And if it's invalid according to form or can't be enforced, obviously we just don't spend too much. We shouldn't spend too much time on it. We might, but we shouldn't. So, and Peter, Jill, before you go, Peter had his hand up. I wanted to.
I think Libby said it eloquently, but I think one of the things that we should talk about going forward is zoning articles and how that can be done differently in general, whether it's a separate meeting, a separate vote, or whatever. But you have articles on there that are really neighborhood fights, and it really seems out of context. But for a town meeting, and some of it doesn't make sense.
Thank you, Jill. What you were going to add?
Oh, not to that. I was just thinking through. I mean, I just think a lot of these things are going to come up, and maybe they'll just be zoning articles by neighborhood or something. But I agree. I think we can meet any board sooner in the process, and get an understanding of how much that's going to take up time.
I mean, one of the things that we talked about briefly at the marathon town meeting on the Saturday was, does it make sense, as Peter Schaefer just pointed out, to almost separate and have the zoning articles in a separate section all by themselves, and I realize that we can't sit here and restructure town meeting. However, maybe there's a way that we can have some discussions about, is there something that, how do other people do it? How do other towns do it? Do they separate? I mean, Libby would know this better than I do, but some of these topics, just while interesting for finance committee and with an indirect financial implication on nearly all of them, the ones that were best served are the ones that have a direct financial implication for the town or the community, and then therefore we can spend more time on it than to go a lot of time on something that might be interesting, but not necessarily the best use of our time to spend hours and hours on something. So Libby, do you want to chime in with any of what I just said?
Just that towns handle zoning differently in every town. We happen to have a lot of zoning articles annually. There has been discussion about dedicating a fall special town meeting to zoning. Special town meetings are a lot of work,
Yeah.
And we have not really gotten there yet to do that. And they also tend to happen at times when we're doing a lot of other crucial activities, like preparing the budget for the following year, capital for the following year, getting ready for the annual. We're gonna have to start preparing a little earlier for the annual anyway, even though it's a little bit later this year. But it's really just all up to the town. I sometimes hear people say, don't put zoning all in a bunch on the warrant. Right now, all the articles, as you know, are categorized. But I hear some people say, put them all in a, bingo bin and pull them out one by one so that we don't have special interests taking over. So, everybody has an idea about it.
Thank you. And Jill, anything else?
The only other question I had, and this could be more broadly, although I thought about it also in relevance to short-term rentals and anything that's going to surround those issues, is the issue of people having to recuse on our board. For example, I know Stephen recused, and I respect that. Maybe he wanted to do that, but I personally just don't feel he should have to. Everybody's affected by a lot of these articles that come up, and I just wanted to know, is there something maybe we can get from town council that gives guidance, or is it just going to be on a article and person basis? If we keep facing all these issues, I mean, to me, someone like Stephen, he's the most knowledgeable voice on our board.
Yeah.
So I want him to be involved, and I want to make sure that we can get ahead of that this time. And that's my main thinking ahead.
So what we're able to do, when we asked about that with some of these topics this year, and we just decided to not follow through with it, but we are able to petition the select board to give the recused person the ability to not recuse and to say, so this, I think, if I remember correctly, Libby, from John Georgia's email to us is, or not John, but Brian, the other Brian, he said that it's because Joe had the same issue with the affordable housing trust issues, right? Because
Right.
for humanity, and he's the most knowledgeable on affordable housing, or he's very knowledgeable. He might not be the most, but he's very knowledgeable. So we have to formally petition the respondent has to formally petition the select board to ask for dispensation to not recuse. And so I think on the topic we can, as we see what the articles come up for next year's ATM, we can get ahead of that if the individuals who are affected feel very strongly about my dog barking in the background. So.
Okay, so is that select board has to vote on at a meeting for themselves, or they just write a letter and sign a letter? And
I think it
that?
has to be taken as a vote at a select board meeting. So that's why also too, by the time we realized it, we just had kind of run out of runway. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but we know what the articles are early on, and therefore we can figure out who would need to recuse. And then of the people who recuse, do you want to be able to stay as the, finance committee member and not just a public citizen in speaking to it? So,
Yeah.
Thank
Okay.
you for that, Jill.
Thanks.
Anything else from anyone else on any other business? No? My understanding, Brian, just to confirm, is that Rick is handing the figurative baton to Maria with this meeting? Is this the?
Yes.
So I would like to ask
That
my
is correct.
COW members to big round of applause for Rick for stepping in and
Yes.
keeping us on track, on target, and sane during what was a very active ATM meeting. And thank you very much, Rick. You did a great job, and I know my life was easier because of it, and that made all of
Yeah,
you.
thank you, Rick.
Thank you, Rick.
And Maria, we're looking forward to working with you. We know you're going to pick up Rick's baton and run even faster with it. So we're very excited about our new
Me too.
collaboration.
Thank you, Denise. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Okay. May I have a motion to adjourn?
So
Motion
moved.
to adjourn.
Oh, sure. Everybody leaps up for that one.
Oh, yeah.
We left when you were going to be chair again. We were thrilled.
Okay, by roll call, Stephen.
Aye.
Peter. George.
Aye.
Thank you. Jill.
Aye.
Joanna.
Aye.
Chris.
All right.
Thank you, everyone. And as always, thank you, Terry. Thank you, Libby, Brian. Take care and see you in 2 weeks.